Today, a new life for our Nova. The straight six comes out, an LS vet motor goes in. It's the ultimate sleeper. Plus, our Challenger gets a little closer to the road. And wouldn't you really rather drive a Buick?
Welcome to MuscleCar. Project Overkill is back, but before I tell you where we're going, I gotta tell you where we've been. Overkill is our 70 Challenger that we've been working on all season, and it's looking like a whole different car. Goodmark hooked us up with some new quarters because they needed to be replaced. This was a movie car. It was in Too Fast, Too Furious. It got pretty beat up in a former life. We did a whole bunch of body work on this thing. We cut the floor out. We braced up the body, front and center. We put new metal in the roof. Red Top Speed Shop hooked us up with a K-member complete with NASCAR pickup points. That K-member lets us use a GM steering box that we got from AGR. We put air ride suspension on all four corners to drop Overkill right down in the dirt. Since it's a Mopar, we went with a 528 Hemi, 610 horse from Mopar Performance. Then we backed it up with a TKO 5-speed from Kiesler and a Dana 60 from Curry. Now we had the whole drive line in this baby on the jig, and let me tell you, it was pretty cool. But now we had to blow it all back apart so we can put the floor in it, get it rhino lined, and Brett and Daniel are getting it ready for bodywork and paint. And once that's done, the drive line's going back in, and we're gonna put this baby on its wheels, but there's still a lot of work to do just to get it ready for primer. Now you guys have probably noticed that Jared hasn't been here for the last few weeks. That's because he went back up to Rad Rise. That's all right, he's still gonna be building cool cars, and he's still a stand-up guy. So I had to go out and recruit some help, because I'm no body guy. We'll be taking it into the paint booth later on today, but I wanna show you another project first. Now old Blue Hair here, I'm gonna turn it into a sleeper, because we all know that there's not enough sleepers left in the world. So I'm gonna tear out this 236 cylinder in that Power Glide, and I'm gonna slam in a 364 LS motor with 440 horse with a 6-speed. Ooh, man, it's gonna be fun. Now for you guys who don't know what a sleeper is, it's the kind of car that looks bone stock on the outside. The interior even looks stock, but it's in the driveline that matters. That's what's gonna jump out and bite you in the butt. I'm even gonna try and keep these fashionable stock hubcaps. This thing is so original, it came in here with just 33,000 miles on it. That's barely 1,000 miles a year. You've never seen one of these babies before on TV. It's GM's LS364 crate motor, right out of the C6 Corvette, but it's set up to run a carburetor. This baby makes 440 horse right out of the box with a 750 on top. Aluminum block, 6-bolt mains, nodular iron crank. This one's made to go, and it's going in our Nova. This is not a simple drop-in deal. We may have to cut the cross member. We'll probably have to make our own mounts. There's no telling what else we might have to do to this thing. Here you go. Well, some of you guys are probably wondering why would he take the nose off this car for a simple engine swap. Actually, it's a real good reason. I want you guys to see exactly what it is I got to do. I've got to make engine mounts, I've got to worry about exhaust, who knows, I might even have to make headers. But this way you guys can see exactly what's going on. There's plenty of room for you to look at it. That's why I did it. I'm thinking about you. And I know you want to see the Challenger on its wheels. It went from the jig to the rotisserie. Now it's rhino line, and it's almost ready to start test fitting it so we can do the body work. You're in. While Daniel and Brett are getting that Challenger ready for some primer, I'm gonna get this fashionable 6-cylinder out. So we get the new motor in. Usually I just put it on jack stand so I can get to the tranny mount and the drive shaft. but the lift is right here, so why not? Now there's a few things I gotta do underneath it here. Pull out the drive shaft, unbolt the tranny cross member, and the mount. Just makes it easier to get it out. And the exhaust, then I can drop this baby down and start pulling it out. High floor exhaust!
Coming up, we'll fire up the hot wrench to get our 6-speed LS2 in the Nova. And later, try this with your Buick.
Welcome back. Brett's mixing up some primer for the Challenger. Once we get that baby primed and all dry, we're gonna wheel it back out into the shop, start reassembling it so we can hang body panels on it so we can start looking like a cool car. You know what you're doing, man?
Oh yeah.
You sure?
Oh yeah.
Check it out. Brett's got his doughboy suit on and a full respirator gig. A lot of guys just want to wear a mask. That's a bad idea when you paint. You want to be safe and wear all the protection that you can get your hands on. This PPG primer is gonna be dry in just a few hours, so we can start putting the driveline back in it later on today. While Brett's priming the Challenger, I'm gonna yank out the 6-cylinder so we keep everything moving along. Now you wanna be careful around your wiring when you do this. Make sure you disconnect everything before you go ripping it out. Don't just cut wires, you're gonna get in trouble. I'm environmentally conscious. And that's not all that's out of this place. We're gonna be cutting this frame so this 30-something-year-old dirt's gotta go. All right, we got our front end cleaned up. It's grease-free. And I'm gonna put that in there. Of course, I'll have to do some modifications, but that's okay. That flex plate's gonna come off first because we're putting a Rockland 6-speed in this thing. Oh, that's the way, yeah. Now you're probably wondering, hey, why is that guy not putting a clutch and pressure plate on there? Because I'm test fitting everything. And we know we can't use the old motor mounts because they're just not the right ones. So they're out of there. Yeah! So we're gonna stab this one in for the first time to see how it fits. And then we're gonna get an idea where we need to cut and what we don't need to cut. These exhaust manifolds are in the way, so they're coming off. And that's just the beginning. Now when I was test fitting the engine the first time, there'll be many of them, trust me, I noticed that the transmission hits the floor. So I've got to take out the interior, cut out the tranny hump, put it back in to see where I need to set up my cross member where the shifter's gonna fall. Now I gotta be really careful with this rubber mat because it's an integral part of the whole sleeper look. Before I start cutting up this floor, we're gonna pull the Challenger out of the spray booth so the guys can start putting it back together. Now you guys are probably going, there he goes, cutting up a really nice Nova. But you know what? That's okay, because I don't feel bad at all about cutting up a really nice car. Ooh, hot stuff, hot stuff. Oh, plenty of room now. What I'll do is I'll save this and maybe raise it up. This might save me some work from having to do another one. Well, now that I've got all this newfound floor space, it's time to put the engine in, but you're gonna see that after the break.
Next, the Buick Horsepower Nationals from Indianapolis. And finally, the Challenger is back on its wheels.
So I figured I'd come up with a new way to work underneath the dashboard of the car. I just took the engine out, cut a big hole in it, now I've got easy access to get up in here. But besides all that, the Buick Horsepower Nationals in Indianapolis, Indiana was a happening place. Those Buick guys know how to make some ridiculous power and have really nice cars. Check it out. think I'm gonna patent this idea. Can I do that?
It's nice when you make a quarter-mile pass in 10 seconds and people look at it and go, wow, is that a Buick? Buicks are they're a rare thing, and we can definitely make them run though.
Big, strong, fast, and just a tad bit unusual. That's how they like it here at the Buick Horsepower Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Torque from those big 455 Buicks and the sounds of hair dryers from those little turbo V6s is the norm for the weekend.
Welcome everyone to the Summer Classic here for the Buicks.
You don't see as many Buicks as you do Fords or Chevys, and that's the big draw for these Buick guys, like Paul Cassidy. He drove a hard 18 hours to get here with that 4,000-pound family station wagon that'll lift those front wheels just a touch off the ground.
There's not a whole bunch of us around, so when we do get together, I mean, we have a good time, a lot of fast cars, so it's just different being out there with a Buick.
That's what these events are all about, is people sharing knowledge and learning lots of things about these cars. So, you know, a lot of these guys here, they don't want to be like everyone else and drive a Chevrolet product.
Different is a word you hear a lot around the Nationals, because those Buick guys are a bit different, and they want you to know it. Someone says you're driving grandma's car, you just want to go faster. And if you can't get the parts, you make your own.
Aluminum connecting rod for a Buick 455. Started making them basically because getting parts for Buicks is a pretty difficult thing.
But there's something about that Buick that just makes it all worth the trouble.
You don't see them at cruise-ins, you don't see them at car shows that much, and so it's just something different that people don't have.
They're even casting new blocks for the 455, and the first one they're saying is making 1,100 horsepower. It's bored and stroked and supercharged.
This motor actually has the mains getting oiled, the rods getting oiled, and then everything else. It's got a 4-bolt main casting. It's 4 bolts front to back.
It's running low 9s already, and they're still figuring out how to get all that power to the ground. A few of these cars were never meant to hit the track, like the Buick of the future and another show car based on the Buicks of the past. If you're thinking about the here and now, and you think Buick means old and slow, these guys are going to be the first ones to show you that that's not the way.
Coming up, mounting motor mounts.
Hey you guys, welcome back. Hope you had a good break. I know I did. It's time to test fit this engine one more time, at least one more time by the way, and see what we gotta do. We can throw this engine in here a bunch of different ways, but no matter how you do it, carburetor's gotta be level. And this thing's gonna be a sleeper, so we gotta fit everything under the stock hood. Sometimes you might have to cut the oil pan or the cross member, but this one, it fits and I like it. Tell me I'm good. Just tell me. Go ahead, shake, say yes. Shake the camera, yeah. There you go. Come on in. We're so good, we might even get to challenge it back on his wheels today.
Bring it up some more. Hold what you got.
I'm gonna leave Brett to finish this up. I'm gonna go back to the Nova. A couple of things popped up. No big deal though, I can always modify it to fit. But I did get these really cool engine mount plates from S&P. What they do is they push the engine forward a little bit so you can use your stock motor mount and chassis mount for this car if it had a V8. But this car came with a straight 6, so I'm gonna modify my own chassis mount and then I'll be good to go. But something that you need to be aware of is this oil pan down here, S&P makes when it's notched to clear the steering linkage from where the engine sits. But I'm gonna raise my engine up 1.5 inches so I don't have to do that, and therefore I won't even have to modify my chassis cross member. It just makes it easier for me. I prefer to do that because I'm impatient and I want to get the car on the road. Something that's really important, you always want to run some anti-seize on your steel bolts when you put them in aluminum, because the heat from the engine, when you run them out, if you don't have anti-seize, you can gall your threads. So I'm going to measure up one of these top mounts and cut some tubing to fit inside of it. Then once the top mounts are ready, I'll get the engine centered up and make some fashionable frame mounts. These tabs here, there's one on each corner, so they're symmetrical. So you can use those to measure from the engine block to the frame rail to center everything up. I'm gonna put a spacer between the engine and the cross member to set the engine right down on it so we can get the hoist out of the way. Then we're gonna level everything up. Oh, another surprise. The transmission is hitting all along here in the tranny hump because this transmission is so big, I've actually made a couple swipes with the tin snips, but it wasn't enough. So I gotta break out the plasma and get ugly with it. We said this engine was gonna be in and out a lot. Well, we weren't lying. So here we go again.
Easy.
The back seat's gotta go.
We're gonna deal with that next week. Right now, I got a little surprise for you. Well, Blue Hair's one step closer to being a sleeper. Overkill's getting ready to get on the tarmac. Let's see what it looks like. This is the first time, you know. Countless man hours, months of work. This is so sick. Oh look, it's a roller skate. It's nice and low. Next week we'll finish up those motor mounts, give Blue Hair some disc brakes, and show you how to overcome a problem we ran into with our headers. That's it for this week. We'll see you guys next time. Later.